Welcome into a live edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman. I'm going to be walking you guys through the latest news and rumors around the Minnesota Vikings. It's a ton of fun. I love interacting with you guys kind of in this live format where I see your comments right there and we can just talk football. It's literally just dudes talking ball, and I love dudes and girls, obviously, talking ball. But welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. This is one of our few and only live shows midweek, so any chance I get to kind of have an opportunity to do this with you guys, I love it. I am self-producing this, so kind of take that with a grain of salt. I might be moving a little slow here on the ones and twos, but hey, I'm excited to have you guys in the chat. Let's get the chat going. You guys love the Vikes. You guys love talking Vikings football. Tons of rumors around the team, including Lamar Jackson. We're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to talk about Lamar. There's a ton of mock drafts, actually, that just dropped that have the Vikings trading for Hendon Hooker, Will Levis, which we'll get into all that and more. But if you guys love the Vikes, give me a skull in the chat, and I will give you guys a shout-out. I saw Tim in the chat earlier saying Lamar is a top-notch scrambling QB and running elusive athletic quarterback who has made some good throws, but we have a pure pocket deep ball passer who would be better in year two. I understand. Well, I'll dive into my case for Lamar and kind of breaking it down on both sides here on if I would personally want Lamar on the Vikings, kind of how it would work and if it actually could work. Because there's a lot of rumors. I mean, if you guys don't know, the Vikings are now up the third and like the Lamar Jackson odds of where Lamar will play next season. They got pretty much the same odds as the Ravens and Patriots and the Colts. Us four are kind of the four teams, but we'll dive into all that and more. Inhale XL saying, what's up, Pat? What's up, Inhale XL? Glad to have you in us. He's also giving me a skull in the chat. I love to see it. Tim's in the chat giving me his skull. Shout out to Tim. He was in here early and often commenting. It's just stuff you love to see. Joey Tana saying skull. Shout out to Joey. Welcome in. And then Sean EG saying say no to Lamar. Sorry, bro. I'm gonna wait to give you guys my thoughts on this whole Lamar Jackson kind of sweepstakes, I guess the Vikings are in. Because if you guys don't know, pretty much the Minnesota Vikings to get Lamar Jackson, it would take 2 first-round picks. It would take, because he's on the non-exclusive tag, it would take 2 first-round picks for the Vikes to land Lamar Jackson. We'll be getting into all that and more, kind of breaking it down on both sides and kind of where these rumors came from, because there's actually a pretty, I guess, high up there NFL insider who linked the Vikes to Lamar Jackson and said they are a dark horse team to land Lamar Jackson. So I'll be diving into all that. But again, you love the Vikes. Just give me a skull in the comments section. I want this place flooded with skulls right now. If you guys want a shout out, just give me a skull down below. We got over 57 people watching already. I love to see it. Tim's saying keep Kirk Thuggins. I know. This is a big debate. This is a big debate. I'm not saying this is going to be easy, but I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on this whole thing. Alexis is in the chat. Shout out to you, Alexis. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be a great day today talking Vikings football. Jorge is in the chat saying skull. Living the dream of Dan saying skull. Munkus, I remember you from our watch parties, my man. He's saying skull. Kim A. Peterson saying don't do it. Jeremy Armstrong is saying skull. And then Joey again saying skull. Love the skulls coming in the chat, but I do want to throw this at you guys. Name a free agent you want the Minnesota Vikings to sign. There's a ton of good free agents still left out there. You know, the guys like OBJ, Bobby Wagner. There's a couple good names out there. But out of all the free agents left, let me know who you want the Vikings to sign. Again, I am self-producing this, so if I'm moving a little slow graphic to graphic, take that with a grain of salt here. Vikings are a smaller channel here at Chat Sports, but we still got the permission to go live today, chop it up with the great Vikings fans, so I'm excited to do so. King Moneymaker is saying skull in the chat. Shout out to you, King Moneymaker. Luke Nick, 6 Nicks, saying skull. Shout out to you. Tim saying Lamar is poison for the locker room. It is a team sport, not a me sport. That's an argument that I'm going to be getting into later. Shout out to Sean E.G. saying Duke for Duke Shelley, I'm assuming. Yeah, guys, that's something we're going to need to talk about. Well, actually, I have that part of one of our segments today is why the hell is Duke Shelley not a Viking? Like, what are we waiting for here? It's not like our cornerback room has gotten that much better. I mean, yes, Byron Murphy, that signing was huge. But why isn't Duke Shelley back? That's honestly frustrating me a little bit. But hopefully, Duke Shelley, he'll return. He's been talking a lot on Twitter. I think Duke Shelley will be back. Bunting, I think he went to the Titans, Tim. I could be wrong, but OBJ also from Tim. Man, I would love OBJ. I mean, OBJ would be a sweet dude to ag. Vilena saying Wagner, we need to get better on D. I agree. We need to get better on defense. I think Wagner would be a great fit, especially if you could bring him in for maybe a 1 year, $6 million type of deal. Clint is saying Skull, please no more Cousins, Hopkins, and Lamar. Yes. All right. So that's where we're going to kind of see the debate here amongst Vikings fans, because what I've seen on Twitter is yes. Give me Lamar. Oh, my God, Lamar would be awesome. And a lot of it is like, no, why would we give up a solid quarterback like Kirk Cousins for a kind of wild card type of QB like Lamar Jackson? I'm kind of in between, and I actually made this the pin poll on today's video. And right now it is 52% yes if you guys want to trade for Lamar. So pretty much split 50-50 down the middle from what I'm seeing so far, which kind of is what I expected it to be. So we'll actually go to that right now. I'll make this. I was going to save it for later, but we'll do it right now. Do you want to trade for Lamar Jackson? The question that is burning all over Vikings Twitter, Vikings Instagram, Vikings media, Score North's talking about it. Purple for the Win podcast is talking about it. Do you want to trade for Lamar Jackson? Get those answers in the comments, and I'll talk about it. T for trade, P for pass. Vilena is saying P. Alexis is saying T for trade. So Alexis wants Lamar on the Minnesota Vikings. Bloody Pouty, or Blouty is saying pass on Lamar Jackson. Inhale XL is saying sign Bobby Wagner and OBJ. I mean, if we got that notification on our phone, oh shit, we just got Bobby Wagner, OBJ, I would be thrilled. So I'm with you on that. Sean EG saying pass if we need to give up 23. So pretty much what it would have to be, since he signed the non-exclusive tag, and I'll get into this more once we get into the actual video part of this live, you would need to give up 2 first-round picks. So you could wait for after the draft and give up the 2 picks for next year, or you could give up the Vikings 23 this year and the 23 next year. And I'm assuming Kirk Cousins would be included in that Lamar trade. Again, Kirk has a no-trade clause. We'll get into all that and more. But pretty much I think the deal would be 2 first and Kirk for Lamar. I mean, pretty simple, but that's what it would have to be to answer you VP or VIP status. Brian Force is saying P, too injury prone. I get it. That's the thing with Lamar. I mean, when Lamar's hitting on all cylinders and when he has that passing aspect of his game down and ready to go, combine that with his running ability, Lamar is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So we'll see. The Vikings did also, if we're talking news-wise here, they did sign Brandon Powell. I'll touch on that during the video too, but pretty much he might be a punt returner, I think. I don't think Jalen Reagor will be back as the Vikes punt returner, but we'll touch on that and more. VIP is saying 2 first and Kirk. Yes. Yeah. I would do it if you got Bateman in the deal. Ooh, could you imagine that? Bring Bateman back home to Minnesota, obviously where he played college ball, not where he grew up, but yeah, man. Anthony Harris, y'all are crazy. I would take Lamar in a heartbeat. Shout out to Anthony Harris, Vikings legend in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say my thoughts. You guys are going to have to stick around to see what I'm going to have to say here. But, man, Lamar would look sweet in a Vikings uniform. Lamar, Justin Jefferson, if we do keep on the Dalvin Cook, TJ Hawkinson, Christian Darrisaw. I mean, that would be one of the best offenses in the league. So we'll see. But I do want to switch to the draft a little bit because the draft is probably about a month and 5 days away. So we got about a month and 5 days until the draft. What position? You're on the clock. You're Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. What position do you want the Vikings to draft? You said 2 first and Cousins, but what would we get? Jackson and picks? I think it would just be Lamar Jackson. Maybe, like somebody just said, maybe even a guy like Rashad Bateman could be thrown in there to kind of sweeten up the deal for the Vikes. But, I mean, Lamar, you get a young franchise quarterback, man. I mean, teams are not going to let that go for cheap. So, I don't know. But let me know, what position do you guys want the Vikings to draft? I'm leaning corner, but a lot of the receivers excite me. There's a lot of good corners in this year's draft. There's a lot of good receivers in this year's draft. I'm leaning corner receiver. You could go linebacker. There's a couple of linebackers that I don't mind, but We'll see. We'll see. A lot of people are saying wide receiver. Matthew Weaver is saying wide receiver. VIP Status is saying wide receiver. Hey, if you guys have a player in mind, drop him in the comments too. My guy was Devin Witherspoon, the corner from Illinois, but he's sadly probably going to be a top 15 pick, so that's unfortunate. But Sean E.G. is saying trade up for a QB. Guys, when we get into the cut here shortly, we got to talk about it because a couple of mock drafts had the Vikings trading up for Will Levis and Hendon Hooker, which – that would be something, wouldn't it? That would be something. So let me know. What position do you guys want the Vikings to draft? And, hey, if you want the show to start, if you want to dive into these Lamar Jackson rumors, dive into these Will Levis rumors, like today's video. We are at 14 likes right now. Can we get the 30? Let's just get half of you guys in the chat. We got 64 people watching. It's free. And, hey, it makes me look good for my bosses. I could say, hey, guys, you want more live shows? Look at all these likes we got on our live show from this past week. It's free. Just go down there. Just hit that like button. It's a great way to help support the channel and just kind of help support this Vikings community. I'm trying to grow here at Chat Sports because, hey, Vikings Now, one of the smaller channels we have here at Chat Sports, but I'm a diehard Vikings fan. I want to grow this channel, and I want this channel to have more and more resources. So just go down there. Like today's video, it is free. We're at 22 likes right now. Can we just get 8 more of you guys? Hit that like button. Pretty much this is just going to this is pretty much just tells YouTube, hey, look at all these people liking this video. Send it out to more Vikings fans. You guys know how the algorithm works and all that. Go down, like today's video. I'm trying to get more content out for you guys. This is an easy way to do so. It's free. Helps me out a lot. Just right down there. Thumbs up button. Like the video. Here we go. Patrick Siepman is the GOAT coming in from Inhale XL. Shout out to you at your bosses. Yeah, you got to tell them that, Inhale XL. I'm trying to grow this Vikings community here. You guys know. King Moneymaker saying, like the video, it's good for the algorithm. It's all about the algorithm. Hashtag algorithm. Hashtag like the video. Get this video out to more and more Vikings fans. As a Lions fan, I hope y'all trade away a ton for Lamar. Hey, the Lions are loading up right now, Danny G. The Lions are loading up. The Lions, I know a lot of the attention in the NFC North this offseason has been on the Chicago Bears and all the moves they have made, but man, the Detroit Lions, you guys got way better on defense. Guys, we are 2 likes away from 30. We are 2 likes away from 30. Hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. If you guys want the show to start, you guys want to hear my thoughts on Lamar, because I think I will probably I'll give you guys a take that maybe you guys haven't heard before on other Vikings media sites about Lamar Jackson. We did it. Hit 30 likes. Shout out to you guys. Hashtag algorithm. Now, speaking about hashtags, if you guys want to ask me whatever it is, if you guys have a question, whatever it is about the Minnesota Vikings, it could even be, hey, Danny G, you wanna ask a question about the Lions and ask if I'm scared about the Lions? You guys can do so. The last segment we'll have on today's show will be a mailbag where I'm literally just going to take questions from you guys, turn it into a video that we're going to post on the channel later. And really, I don't know where that video could go. It's up to you guys. Whatever you guys want to talk about, whether it's Lamar, Odell Beckham, whatever it may be, ask that question. But it does help me a lot here. I am self-producing this. So all the software, I'm literally controlling everything right now. I'm talking, interacting with you guys. It's all on me. Use hashtag Vikings in your comment. Pretty much what that does, it will pull the question straight from the live YouTube chat into our software, and it will just pretty much help me a lot. And then also, if you guys do want to kind of support the channel and kind of skip the line, if you guys do send in a super chat, it's just a little dollar icon. If you guys got $2, $5, whatever it may be, you guys will skip the line, and I'll kind of spend majority of the show talking about your questions. So whatever you guys want to do, however you guys want that mailbag to go, we could talk about whatever it may be. Whatever it is around the Vikes, re-signing Duke Shelley, cutting Dalvin Cook, what's going to happen with Zadarius Smith, just use hashtag Vikings and you will get on the show. Danny G in the chat with Brian Force saying, I'd like to trade for Judy. Yeah. Only problem is Broncos are probably going to want a first-round pick, and I don't know if I want to give up the 23rd overall pick for Jerry Jeudy just yet. I don't know. That's something I've been kind of debating in my head back and forth. Alexis, do you like Dalvin Cook? Good question. Just use hashtag Vikings. You kind of did, but it did tag. That's a weird YouTube bug. But shout out to you guys. Got over 85 people watching right now. As Kirko Chains actually sends in a $10 super chat. We'll throw that on screen right now. Kirko, I appreciate the $10 super chat, but ask a question, whatever you want it to be. Ask whatever you want to talk about. I know you have some thoughts on, Dalvin Cook, whatever it may be. If you do guys send in a super chat, of course we appreciate it, but ask a question. I want to interact with you guys. It's the best part of this job here at Chat Sports. Shout out to Kirk O'Chain. Kirk O'Chain's great name, by the way, probably the best name we have here as a Vikings Now commenter. But shout out to Kirk O'Chain's. We appreciate it. Kirk just sends money with no question. I know, Danny G. He is just supporting the show. What a G. Yep. Shout out to Kirk O'Chain's, a real one here on Vikings Now. But we got a ton to talk about. We're going to be diving into the Lamar Jackson trade rumors right now. And then I'm going to hop back in here, and I am going to interact with you guys. If you guys do have a question, use hashtag Vikings at the end of your comment, and I'll talk about it, whatever it may be. Kirk O'Chain, should we trade Hawk? No, it's a deep tight end class. I know we just got Josh Oliver, but no, I am not trading TJ Hockenson. Not a chance in the world that is going to happen. TJ Hockenson, one of the best receiving tight ends in the league, and he's honestly a good blocker too. So, nope, not going to happen. Inhale, exhale. Shout out to you. Great question. I'll actually be touching on that in just a second here. Over 85 people watching. Like the video. We're about to hop in to the latest news around Lamar Jackson, Will Levis, and whatever it may be around the Vikes. You got a loaded show coming your guys' way. Again, I am self-producing this, so if it is taking me a second here and there to kind of go graphic for graphic, be patient. Patience is a virtue. But anyways, Vikings fans, let's talk about the Lamar Jackson rumors. Welcome to the Vikings Now. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman. On today's show, we actually have a loaded show, and a show I personally am very excited to talk about because we're talking about quarterbacks, we're talking about Kirk Cousins, we're talking about Lamar Jackson. There's been a ton of Lamar Jackson rumors floated out there and kind of connecting the Minnesota Vikings to Lamar Jackson. Then we're also going to be talking about The Athletic. The Athletic just put out a recent mock draft that had the Vikings trading up and drafting a certain quarterback, which I am going to be giving you guys my thoughts on and all. Again, I am self-producing this video, so if it is going a little slow, be patient with me. But we do have some news coming in here. Breaking news, Sal, right before I went live. The Vikings did sign a former Los Angeles Ram, Brandon Powell, who is expected to, I'd probably say he's probably going to be our return guy, and that's about it. Brandon Powell, he was with Kevin O'Connell when he was with the Los Angeles Rams. He's a good speed kind of gadget guy. I don't mind the signing. Honestly, with Jalen Reagor most likely out the door, I think we probably have our new return man in Brandon Powell. So just some news to kind of throw your guys' way. Brandon Powell, you are a Minnesota Viking. And guys, we're closing in on Saints Now and the Broncos breakdown here at Chat Sports. I will ask you guys this. Hit that subscribe button. We're covering the Vikings, news, rumors, whatever it may be. I want the Vikings channel to be one of the top channels here at Chat Sports. And how are we going to let the New Orleans Saints channels, our rivals, one of the best out-of-division rivalries we have for the Minnesota Vikings, beat us? It's free. Hit that subscribe button right now. It really helps me out. Plus, I can rub it into my friend Trace Gerard out there who runs our Saints channel. He's a diehard Saints fan. So go down there, hit that subscribe button. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson to the Minnesota Vikings. So Jeremy Fowler listed the Minnesota Vikings as a Lamar Jackson destination. Yes, you heard me right. Jeremy Fowler, a big-time reporter in the NFL, actually listed the Vikes as a potential Lamar destination. If you guys don't remember, the Ravens placed the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson, which pretty much allows other teams to potentially trade for Lamar Jackson. If you guys do remember, earlier this, right after this happened, a ton of teams actually came out and said they are not going to pursue Lamar Jackson. Teams we thought that would have, like the Commanders, like the Falcons, a ton of other teams, like, for example, the Colts also said they were out. So then you're kind of looking around the rest of the NFL, and there's not many options left, and could it be the Minnesota Vikings? I'll give you guys my thoughts on that in a second. But if we're just talking Lamar being the passer of the football he is, here are his passing stats over the last 4 seasons. This past year, obviously, he had injuries. 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The year before that, he also dealt with the injury bug with 16 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. But if you look at that 2019 and 2020 season, when the Ravens were humming, this is when Lamar was at his best. These are just his passing stats. 2020, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And then that MVP year, actually, I'll correct myself, the unanimous MVP from the 2019 season, giving you 36 touchdowns, which led the NFL, and 6 interceptions. Lamar Jackson is an all-time player, or is an all-time great player in the NFL, and this would be an all-time move for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, this would be kind of the Vikings pushing all the chips to the center of the table if they were going to go out and trade for a Lamar Jackson. Now, how the kind of non-exclusive tag works, the Vikings would need to give up 2 first-round picks to acquire Lamar. It's not even like it's just a rule the NFL have. It's not a debate between the GMs. It's literally just that's how the non-exclusive tag works. If you want to trade for one of those players, you have to give up 2 first-round picks. So in my opinion, this would be an all-in move on Lamar. We're going to go get our franchise quarterback and pair him up with Justin Jefferson, Christian Darrisaw, and TJ Hawkinson and make it work on offense. But this is something I do want to talk about. I wonder how Justin Jefferson would feel about this. I wonder if Justin Jefferson, if this would be a thing where he would be excited about it because he's getting maybe an upgrade at quarterback by getting a guy like Lamar Jackson, or would he be kind of upset because obviously Kirk Cousins, I think we would all agree, is a better pure thrower of the football than Lamar, and that obviously directly affects Justin Jefferson's stats. So I am curious if a guy like Justin Jefferson, if he would be upset or if he would be kind of ecstatic about trading for a guy like Lamar Jackson. But before I get into it even more, I want to get your guys' thoughts. And if you guys are in the live chat, let me know. Do you want to trade for Lamar Jackson? Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass. This has been going back and forth on Vikings Twitter. This is my favorite part of the job. I really get to gauge how you guys feel about this. So let me know. T for trade or P for pass. Just go down in the comments right now and let me know. Now, why it won't happen. I got 3 reasons on why it won't, and then I'm going to hit you guys with 3 reasons why I think it might. Number 1, Kirk has a no-trade clause. We just can't really beat around that bush. I mean, Kirk Cousins literally has a no-trade clause. If he doesn't want to go to Baltimore or if he doesn't want to go somewhere else, it just won't happen. And I think Kevin O'Connell, KOC, he loves accurate quarterbacks. I mean, obviously every coach in the NFL wants their quarterback to be more accurate than not, but I think the Kevin O'Connell system that he runs, it suits better for having an accurate quarterback run that system. And also number 3, reports are out there that Lamar wants the bag. He wants that fully guaranteed deal. He wants that Deshaun Watson type of money. So those are kind of 3 reasons why I just don't think the Vikings would want to go all in on a guy like Lamar. But if we're taking the positive outlook on this, on why it could happen, yes, we love Kirk Cousins. But the Vikings eventually are going to need to get a quarterback of the future. They're eventually going to have to go get their cornerstone franchise type of player. And yes, you could make the argument we could go get that in the draft. Well, listen, Lamar Jackson, any of these quarterbacks coming out, he's more certain than that. He's already gotten the unanimous MVP. He's already been to the playoffs. He even already has a playoff win. And also my 3rd reason, I think ownership. I think the Wilfs. And maybe you guys can disagree with me on this, but I think the Wilfs would want to go all in on a guy like Lamar. I think the Wilfs, of what they've shown, spending money just on the facilities and just other players in the past, the Wilfs are not scared to spend money. I think they would be willing to pay big, especially for a guy like Lamar. So those are 3 reasons of why I don't think it could happen and why I do think it could happen. Overall, though, I think Lamar, I think he would be the right move if we would go all in on a guy like that. But I do want to throw this at you. How far do you think Kirk Cousins can lead the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs? Do you think Kirk Cousins is a divisional round quarterback, conference championship round quarterback, or is he just a wild card round quarterback with a good team around him? How far do you think Kirk Cousins can lead this Minnesota Vikings team? We got to talk about it. It's mock draft season. The draft is just over a month away. And The Athletic, this is not a joke. The Athletic had, in the recent mock draft, had the Minnesota Vikings trading up to number 7 with the Las Vegas Raiders and drafting Will Levis. And when I saw this, I kind of laughed at it at first. Then I started thinking about it. I mean, do I think this is going to happen? No, but this would be extremely interesting. And plus, it's just fun to talk about. But starting off with the trade, let's break it down there first. This was the trade The Athletic kind of proposed here is the Vikings will get the 7th overall pick, we'll get the 204th overall pick in this year's draft, and then the Raiders would get our 23rd overall pick, another 84th overall pick, sorry, I was supposed to say number 84, and then a 2024 first-round pick. So you're pretty much going to give up, you're giving up your third for a fifth, and then pretty much you're swapping first-rounders and tacking on another first-round pick on top of that. But this is specifically what The Athletic had to say, because I was like, they have to explain themselves on why they think the Vikings could trade up. So this is what they had to say. The Vikings' future at quarterback is in question. Kirk Cousins remains under contract through 2023. The team has yet to extend him. Until they do, thinking about the team's next throw over the football is worthwhile, which it is. I don't disagree. They carried on to say this. Though it might be tempting to save key 2024 draft capital, especially with the potential QBs in next year's draft, talking about Caleb Williams, Drake May, the Vikings could benefit from adding a QB now. A season to learn head coach Kevin O'Connell's system would be a benefit. I like this idea, but I don't love it. I like it on paper, man. You know, you get a guy like Will Levis, a top quarterback in this year's draft. You could have him kind of sit under Kirk Cousins' wing for a year, learn the offense, and kind of have him kind of be that franchise guy. But I don't love Will Levis, the prospect. Again, like he said in the quote, this was for a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, a Patrick Mahomes type of prospect. I would be all in on this. Again, I like this idea. I don't love it. I'll be giving you guys more thoughts on just Will Levis specifically here in a second, but I do want to ask you guys this. Do you want to draft Will Levis? If you guys traded up, Vikings draft day, traded up to number 7 overall, would you want to draft Will Levis, the Kentucky quarterback? Is he somebody out of all the quarterbacks in this year's draft? Maybe you guys could even give me a name of an Anthony Richardson, whoever it may be. Do you want to draft Will Levis? Just give me a Y for yes or a N for no. Guys, we also do have a great deal going on at Fanatics. I love hooking you guys up with this because, hey, we'll get notifications from Fanatics when they have great deals going on. And they got great deals going on these Vikings jerseys. So shout out to Fanatics. If you guys go to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey, you guys can get one today. They're only on sale for limited time. I'm going to have more thoughts on this Will Levis thing in a second. But if you guys want to go to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey, get yourself a Vikings jersey today. Now, why I think it could work. Let's just say the Vikings do end up trading for, Will Levis, which I don't think they will. But why I think it could work, and why I think really any young quarterback coming into this system this year, I think could really benefit from it. You have great young weapons. I mean, let's not forget Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, any quarterback coming out of college, to give them the safety blanket of TJ Hawkinson and then give them that star player of Justin Jefferson, I'm sure they are all in for it. And number 2, they could sit behind Kirk Cousins. I mean, like we were saying, Kirk Cousins is no doubt probably going to be the Vikings quarterback next season unless, like we were talking about, unless they trade for Lamar Jackson. So you're probably going to sit behind Kirk for at least a year. And then also, you have a young offensive head coach in Kevin O'Connell. I know this might be a safe take to have here, but I think offensive coaches are just working better in the NFL compared to defensive coaches. You look at the final 4 teams in this year's NFL, all offensive guys. I just think it benefits the quarterback more. Quarterback is the most important position in football by far. I think having an offensive head coach really helps. And then also the Vikings, they have a franchise left tackle in Christian Darrisaw too, which always helps a young quarterback. But Will Levis this past season, again, the numbers are not going to blow you away. Will Levis, he's an interesting prospect to me because he has that boom potential in him, but I just don't know where his floor is. I mean, 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. I don't know. I don't know how I would really feel about Will Levis, but like I was saying, I think Will Levis is a very, very interesting prospect. I think Will Levis, would he be my top quarterback out of this year's draft? Of course not, but he is a top 5 quarterback in this year's draft. A lot of GMs like him more than not, but he's an interesting prospect because his numbers don't really scream top 10 pick, but that arm talent does, and he has a great arm, and maybe if you just get the right support system around him, it could work. He's an interesting prospect. Those are kind of my thoughts on Lamar Jackson, Will Levis, and everything. But if you guys made it to the end of today's video, just give me a real one down below. I love kind of checking the comments each night before I go to bed and seeing where all the real ones are at. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is today's video. Lamar Jackson, Will Levis, loaded show on today's slate. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes. All right, we're back. We're back live. Do you want to trade for Lamar Jackson? As we got a super chat from a good friend of mine, and it's Johnson U. Johnson, I'll get to that in a second. Jason's giving me his real ones in the chat. And also, hashtag Vikings, I'll answer your question. But do you want to trade for Lamar Jackson? The question among Vikings media right now. As Johnson U, my man, he's saying Daniel Jones is better than Lamar, and Lamar is better than Kirk Cousins. Johnson U, thanks for the support, man. I do appreciate it. I miss talking to you on Giants and Knicks every day. Yeah, I disagree with you. I think Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback out of those three by far. But yeah, I mean, listen, I agree. I think Lamar is probably the best quarterback out of all three of those guys. But yeah, appreciate it, Johnson. Thank you for showing out. But yeah, Daniel Jones, he had a great game, or great 2 games, I guess, against the Vikings. So, but again, he only threw for like 15 touchdowns last season. Johnson, appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Miss you, Brody. So do you want to trade for Lamar Jackson? I'll give you guys a shout out. Alexis is in the chat saying T for trade. Jason is saying real one. You are a real one. Get off this chat if you're a Packer fan. Guys, do we have Packer fans in here? AFX Apocalypse saying Patrick Siepman, you're a cheater on the Browns. I got all the Chat Sports real ones in here right now. AFX, Johnson, you. There's too many Chat Sports real ones in the chat. Johnny Griffin is saying T for trade for Lamar Jackson. That's interesting. Matthew, great question. Get to that in a second. Maria, are you the Packers fan in the chat that's upsetting all my Vikings fans? That's not good, Maria. That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, boo the Packers fan, Alexis. Boo the Packers fans. No cheeseheads in here. You can hang out. You just got to be nice. You're a Vikings fan today, Maria. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Matthew, that's a great question. I'll get to that in the mailbag. Jason Revlin saying Packers suck. God, I hate the Packers. Guys, I will say, though, Vikings fans, let's have a moment right now. I don't expect Jordan Love to be a franchise quarterback. But if he is, I'm going to have trouble sleeping at night. The fact that the Packers could possibly go from Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, and if he's good and he's another franchise dude, I don't know what I'll do. The Packers are cheating. I mean, I would just say the NFL is rigged at that point. That would drive me crazy. So, hope that doesn't happen. Hopefully the Packers will probably tank the next couple of years. $2 super chat. Great. Oh, wow. I love that. I love that. I love this super chat coming in from Icy Matty Ice. First time super chatter here on the channel. Shout out to Matty Ice. Shout out to you. Oh, Maria's not a Packers fan. All right, guys. Everybody be nice to Maria. Everybody be nice to Maria. She's not a Packers fan. Thank God. He's saying, let's draft Anthony Richardson next Dante Culpepper. So I have seen this comparison on Twitter, and I've seen them kind of side by side throwing the football. Dude, you're spot on. I mean, he literally looks like Dante Culpepper. So that's why, like I was saying in the last kind of cut here, if we were going to trade up for a quarterback, I mean, I think I would rather have Anthony Richardson than a guy like Will Levis. Oh, no, I'm not. Go Packers. Oh, she's a Packers fan. Never mind. Yeah, Maria, you remember when the Packers didn't make the playoffs this past year? Come on. Come on. Go Packers. Everybody boo her in the chat. Not just be nice. I'm just kidding. But Matty Ice, focus on you. Let's draft Richardson, the next Dante Culpepper. I would lean towards more Anthony Richardson, I think, than any other prospect besides maybe Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. Check down Queen. Oh, God, here we go. The boos are coming in the chat. The Vikings-Packers rivalry is still going on in March. That's just stuff you love to see. The Vikings-Packers rivalry, I love it. I love it. Matty Ice, thank you for your super chat. I'm actually going to include that in our mailbag. So if you guys do send in a super chat right now, I will include it in the mailbag no matter what, because that's a great point, Matty Ice. A great point. Thank you so much for the $2. Really goes a long way here. Help support the channel, the Vikings channel. So here we go. Why are you even a Vikings chat, Maria? Vikings crushed them week 1. Guys, they didn't even make the playoffs. Just ignore the Packers fans. We got all the bragging rights. And they forget we kind of own them the past couple of years here. Like, really, the Vikings do own the Packers the past couple of years. Maria's getting booed in the chat. Kirk O'Chains is giving me a skull. Guys, let's just get the skulls going in the chat. Flood her out. Make her feel like she's at US Bank Stadium right now. Just spam skull in the chat. But again, you guys do have a question, use hashtag Vikings. We'll be getting to a mailbag soon in a second. Alexis is saying skull. Matthew is saying skull. Alexis dropping another skull. Isaiah Junker Farms typing skull. The skulls are coming in the chat. Maria doesn't know what to do. Lisa is typing skull. Jason is saying, who had the better record, Vikings or Pack? Huh, Jason? I wonder who did. Oh, wait, it was the Vikings. Shout out to Jason. Let's go. The skulls are coming in the chat. Shout out to everybody. We're going to be getting into the next segment here. It is going to be top free agent targets left, because free agency is not over, guys. There's still a lot of good free agents out there and a couple of guys that I think the Vikings should draft. So I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on that here in a second. Adam Dubs typing his skull. Joey is saying skull, and he's giving me a boo. I love to see it, Joey. Shout out to you. Thank you guys for everybody who sent in a super chat so far. We're going to be talking about the Vikings free agent targets here in a second. And yeah, that's what we're going to get into. We do have a mailbag coming up here in a second. Got a question? Send in a super chat or use hashtag Vikings. Let's talk about it. Top Vikings free agent targets right now. Welcome in the Vikings Now. I am your host for today's show, Patrick Siepman. We're going to be talking about the top Vikings free agent targets left. It's been a crazy start to free agency so far. Vikings have signed names like Marcus Davenport, Byron Murphy. They have been making moves and more moves than I expected, but I don't think they're done. I do think the Vikings do have more moves to make, and I think they will be aggressive here, and I think there's a couple names that I'll be pointing out on today's show that I do want the Minnesota Vikings to sign. But before we get into it, who is your top Vikings free agent target left? Is it a name such as a Bobby Wagner? Or is it a name like an OBJ, Leonard Floyd, Yannick Ngakoue, whoever it may be? Just let me know down in the chat right now. Who is your top Vikings free agent target remaining? So let's go here. We're just going to go. I got 17 names that I think are likely for the Vikings to sign. Starting off with the big four right here: Leonard Floyd, OBJ, Bobby Wagner, and former Viking Yannick Ngakoue. Funny how that trade just did not work out at all. But I think these are the top four kind of unanimous free agents left that the Vikings could sign. But I do want to kind of zero in on one of these guys. And that's OBJ. Let's talk about OBJ because the Vikings, according to Vegas and a lot of other bookmakers out there, the Vikings' odds to land OBJ have skyrocketed over the past couple of days. And a lot of that had to do with the Cowboys going out and trading for Brandon Cooks. Because a lot of people thought OBJ was heading to Dallas. Now could he come back to Minnesota, reunite with his former offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell, team back up with his buddy in Justin Jefferson? I don't know, but let's talk about it. OBJ, past 4 seasons. He did not play in 2022, obviously with that torn ACL. In 2021, he had 14 games played. That was when he went out and won the Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams, and he had a solid year there. But again, he has not passed 1,000 yards since that 2019 season. I do think OBJ still has some left in the tank, but again, he's coming off his second ACL surgery. We just can't ignore that fact. I think he would be a great wide receiver too. I think he still has just a little bit left in the tank, but can he do it for a full 18 games? I am not sure. Let's check out the Vikings wide receiver depth chart here in a second. EJE, I see you in the chat. Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver 1, obviously. I think he's going to be there hopefully his whole career. Hopefully get him locked up this offseason. But, man, if you could put Odell as that wide receiver 2, that would really, really excite me. Odell Beckham Jr. as a wide receiver 2 for the Minnesota Vikings, I think that would be dynamic. You pair him up with a guy like TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne. Obviously, we just signed Brandon Powell, who will be joining the depth chart here in a second. I think that would be great. KJ, OBJ, and Justin Jefferson. That would be an elite big 3 next to Josh Oliver and TJ Hawkinson. But I do want to ask you guys this. Would you sign OBJ? You're Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. You got the Vikings payroll. OBJ sitting in your office. Would you offer him a deal? Type OBJ if you would, and type no BJ if you would not. Let me know down below. I'm assuming I'll see a lot of OBJs in the chat here in a second, but I'm going to see. I'll see. I'll wait to see. Let me know, would you sign OBJ? Some of the other best free agents left here. Jarvis Landry from the New Orleans Saints, DJ Chark from the Detroit Lions, Rock Ya-Sin, cornerback from the Las Vegas Raiders last year, and edge Frank Clark. And now one of these guys I do want to focus in here in a second is Jarvis Landry. But I will say DJ Chark, if he would be kind of my top other wide receiver besides OBJ here, but I think he's going to be too expensive for the Vikings. Then obviously Rock Ya-Sin. I'm a big fan of Rock Ya-Sin. I think he'd be a great corner addition. I don't know if the Vikings would put more money into that group considering how loaded this year's draft class is. Frank Clark, I would love him. He's a great postseason player. Doesn't really do the best in the regular season, but with the Vikings getting Davenport and for some reason Zadarius Smith is still on this roster, and with Danielle Hunter, I just don't really think edge is that big of a need. But I maybe have a shocking take for you guys. I want them to sign Jarvis Landry ASAP. Let's just say we are going to hold on and not bring in a legit wide receiver too. I think Jarvis Landry would be a great option next to a guy like a Justin Jefferson. And I'll kind of explain my thoughts more here in a second. But last 4 seasons for Jarvis, yes, obviously this past year, I think a lot of people think he is cooked. I think a lot of people don't think Jarvis has anything left in the tank. If you just ignore that 2022 season, he has still been productive. Yes, those numbers are going down, but I still think Jarvis, if you put him around the right guys, put him in the right system, I think this can work. And I do think with the Minnesota Vikings, hear me out, with their current situation and how good Justin Jefferson is, I don't think the Vikings need a true wide receiver too. Like, I really don't. I know a lot of people want to be like, oh, go get D-Hop next to Jefferson. Go get T. Higgins. I love this. But I was on the phone with my dad, and we were walking home last night. I was talking about McCole Hardman, and if, like, we should bring in McCole Hardman, and then he kind of brought up the point, well, Vikings still need a true wide receiver too, and I kind of countered that point with, but if how good Justin Jefferson is, if you put just a bunch of solid pieces like KJ Osborne and TJ Hawkinson, and you add a guy like Jarvis Landry, who could be a great third down guy, I think Jarvis would be a great addition to this team. And I'm not saying he's a great player in September, October, even November, but January and February in the playoffs, when it's key third downs, you just give Kirk Cousins just another guy to go to on those key, gotta have it third downs. Jarvis is still that guy. Jarvis still has just a little bit left in the tank. I would be all in on bringing in Jarvis Landry as a possible wide receiver 2-3 hybrid with KJ Osborne. Then you still have guys like Jalen Naylor stepping up. I think Jarvis Landry, he would be a signing a lot of us would raise our eyebrows at. But then when it's January, February, and he's having these huge playoff games, huge third downs, keep your mind out. Keep your mind open, I should say, for Jarvis. Now, guys, if you love talking Vikes, if you bleed purple, just like I bleed purple, hit that subscribe button. I am almost closing in on 15,000 subs, which is our race that we have with our Saints channel here at Chat Sports. First channel to get 15,000 subs is our winner. Me and my friend Trace here, we are still figuring out the logistics of everything. But, hey, if you guys want to help me out, it's free. We'll keep you posted with all Minnesota Vikings content all year long. Just go down there and hit that sub button. Moving on, the next kind of batch of free agents here is Marcus Peters, Miles Jack, Bud Dupree, and Poona Ford. I love Poona Ford. We'll kind of zero on him in a second here. But Marcus Peters, this was a guy I really wanted during the middle of last season. I don't know. I just feel like Marcus Peters, his antics and everything, just, I don't know. He just doesn't excite me as much as he used to. And then obviously like a guy like Miles Jack, he's a great linebacker. I just would rather see the Vikings go another area at the linebacker position. I want Brian Asamoah to be that guy. Kind of the same reasoning I had for Frank Clark. Bud Dupree, he's a great player. But again, I just don't really think Bud Dupree would kind of be filling a need the Vikings have. But give me Poona Ford. Poona Ford is the big old dude from the Seattle Seahawks. And I was talking to Tom Downey earlier, and I was saying, God, I miss guys like Patrick Williams and Kevin Williams from the old Minnesota Vikings days. And that's Poona Ford. He is that dude in the middle who can just muck it up for the Minnesota Vikings. And if we're taking a look here at the Vikings depth chart right now on just the defensive line, obviously we signed a guy like Dean Lowry, which is a big pickup from the Green Bay Packers. But I do think Poona Ford would fit in very nicely here for the Vikes. I just think you just need more defensive line depth. You need another guy next to Harrison Phillips and Dean Lowry. So I would be all in on getting him. Again, I don't know if it's likely. I think Poona Ford might be demanding a little too much money that the Vikings are willing to spend. But again, Poona Ford, I would be all in. Now let's talk about Marcus Peters here for a second, because the Vikings obviously need cornerback help, and we don't have any veterans at the cornerback position anymore with Patrick Peterson leaving and a lot of the, I guess not additions, subtractions from the Vikings defense this past year. I would be a fan of Marcus Peters. It would have to come down to the contract. I think it would maybe be a one-year vet min type of deal, but he plays with swagger, plays with confidence. He's that typical in-your-face man-to-man corner that I think Brian Flores would love to have. I think he would be a good mentor for guys like Andrew Booth and Caleb Evans in that cornerback room. Marcus Peters, I would love to sign him, but again, it would come down to that contract for us and for the Vikes if I would want to bring a guy like Marcus Peters in. Would I be excited if I got that notification? Of course. He's a good football player, and the Vikings need more just good football players on that side of the football. Now we're talking about the last batch of free agents left. Ezekiel Elliott, Vikings aren't going to get him. He's a more cooked version of Dalvin Cook. Taylor Lewan, tackle from the Tennessee Titans. If you talk about cooked, I think he fits under that description. Isaiah Wynn and Jadeveon Clowney are two guys that I'll kind of talk about here. I know a lot of Vikings fans have been kind of throwing out Clowney, and he kind of gets thrown out every single year. But I do want to kind of mention this to you guys about Clowney. Apparently he was complaining to a lot of the Browns defensive coaches about them giving Myles Garrett favorable matchups and saying they were inflating his numbers. And I'm like, well, that's what you're supposed to do for your best player. Like, you're supposed to get your best player the best matchup possible and have him be the one that game wrecks the game, especially from the edge side of the football. I just don't really think Clowney's a big of a team guy anymore. I mean, I feel like every year we kind of had this conversation, who's going to sign Jadeveon Clowney, and then he really just doesn't really make that impact. I'm kind of out on Clowney. I don't think the Vikings should even look at him. I don't think they are going to look at him after the Marcus Davenport signing. Get Clowney out of there. But one guy I do want to kind of touch on here, Isaiah Wynn. Isaiah Wynn, I think, would be a great option. I think it would be a great backup swing tackle next to Oliuta, who's our swing tackle probably right now. But if Brian O'Neill, again, knock on wood, Brian O'Neill, Christian Darrisaw were to have to go down for some reason, again, I would not be too upset with bringing in Isaiah Wynn. I think he's got great experience in the NFL. I think he's a great, solid tackle option. Isaiah Wynn, he would be a great kind of swing tackle backup that the Vikings could potentially bring in. But the guy I do want to bring back is bring back the Duke. I can't believe I got to talk about this right now, that the Vikings haven't brought back Duke Shelley yet. But Duke Shelley, bring him back to Minnesota. He was great last year. He's one of the top corners rated according to PFF in just about everything. I love Duke Shelley. I love the swagger he plays with. He was just, if you talk about a Vikings cornerback room that was so bad last year, and he kind of instantly became our number one corner next to Patrick Peterson, he was fantastic. I mean, remember that Dawson Knox pass breakup in the back of the end zone when the Vikings had that unreal comeback versus the Buffalo Bills? Give me Duke Shelley. Give me Duke Shelley. I want him back, or else we are going to riot. I'm going to lead a group of Vikings fans to US Bank Stadium, and we are going to have bring back the Duke signs and pitchforks, and we will riot if we don't bring back Duke Shelley. It needs to happen. And guys, we'll wrap it up here on today's video. If you want Duke Shelley back, spam 20 in the comments. I want 1,000 comments of Duke Shelley. If we get 5,000 views on this video, give me 5,000 20s, because I know all Vikings fans, we may not agree on Lamar Jackson or whatever it may be. Just spam 20, because I know we all agree. We want Duke Shelley back, because, hey, him next to Byron Murphy and the boys could get pretty exciting in that cornerback room in Minnesota. Spam 20 in the comments down below. All right, guys. I love to see it. I turn to my left, and everybody's spamming 20. Shout out to Alexis. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to Deborah. Deborah. Hopefully I'm saying that right. A is spamming his 20. Isaiah Junker Farms spamming his 20. Give me the Dukes in the chat. Football Boy 12 spamming 20. Colin Risen spamming his 20. Alexis again spamming 20. Guys, we just got to get Duke Shelley back on the Vikes. Like, we got to get Duke Shelley back on the Minnesota Vikings. It's got to happen. Like, it's got to happen. I can't believe it hasn't happened already. I really haven't. Like, I'm shocked Duke Shelley is not a Viking yet. Honestly, it makes me sick to my stomach. But I love Kwesi. I love everything he's done this offseason. Not re-signing Duke Shelley, it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. And you just see the support in the chat right now for my man Duke Shelley. He was great last year. The fact that he's not a Minnesota Viking hurts me, man. It hurts me. Hashtag Duke. Hashtag bring back the Duke. He's also just got the best name on the Viking secondary. I mean, Duke Shelley, I love it. I love Duke Shelley. He plays with swagger at the cornerback position, which is something you need. And we did get a $5 super chat during that cut from a man, Skolger, who was a legend here during our watch parties during the season. $5 from Skolger. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Goes a long way here at Chat Sports. Goes a long way here, especially on our Vikings channel. But again, Skolger, thank you so much. I'm sure he wants Duke Shelley back as well. So, guys, we're going to wrap up today's live show with a mailbag. If you guys got a question, whatever it may be, on the Minnesota Vikings, in the live chat right now, if you just give me a hashtag Vikings, I will answer it best of my ability. Again, I am self-producing this, so you guys got to kind of be patient with me here, but I should be able to answer it all. So just go down there, ask a question, hashtag Vikings, and I'll be sure to answer it. Again, thank you guys so much so far for watching. It's been an honor. As always, we do have a mailbag to kind of wrap up today's show, answering questions from Vikings fans by a Vikings fan myself. It's the best way to describe it. Whatever it may be, talking Vikes, whatever you guys want to talk about, we will talk about. It could be draft, free agency, whatever it may be. Matthew Weaver, it is a great freaking question. I might start with that. I'm not going to lie to you. That's just an elite question by Matthew Weaver. Elite question. Let me get that set up. Draft AR-15, Ballers TV. I see your question in there. Alexis, another great question. You guys are asking all the good questions. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate it as always. If you guys do have a super chat that comes in midway through the cut, I'll immediately throw it up on screen. So if you guys like, oh, shoot, I don't think he's going to answer my question in time, super chat, no matter what, that's going on screen next. It's kind of your guys'. I like the super chat option because if you do have like an extra $2 to spend on today's show, it will immediately be on screen, and that's what we're talking about. So it's kind of a cool way to kind of, I don't know, talk Vikes. You guys can kind of dictate the show here. It's the coolest part of the what we do here at Chat Sports. Deborah, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I really think I'm not, but shout out to you. That's a good question. I would definitely hit that on today's show. Minnesota Vikings mailbag from Vikings fans by a Vikings fan. Myself, coming your guys' way soon. Joey, I want Quentin Johnson. Then who do you want? Ooh, I like that. I'll probably answer that too on today's show. Again, bear with me here. I am self-producing this. All these graphics, you guys see me looking down a lot. It's kind of me moving the graphics up around or all around screen. So again, thank you guys for being patient. It's been a ton of fun hanging out with you guys. I look forward to this kind of hour or so every single week where we just get to chop it up, talk Vikings football as always. Shout out to you guys, though. We're going to get into this Minnesota Vikings mailbag here in a second. So let me get everything situated. Spike the Viking, great question again. All right, you guys ready? I'm ready. Let's do it. You are the best. Alexis, you are the best. Thank you guys for sticking this out with me. Again, love talking Vikings. Love talking ball with you guys. It's the best part of my week. Again, we're in the dog days of the offseason right now. Free agency is kind of winding down. The draft is still a month away, but this is it. This is it. All right. Vikings mailbag. I'm ready. You guys seem ready to go. Let's talk about it. Answering your questions here in a second. All right. Let's do it. Welcome to the Vikings Now. I'm the host of today's show, Patrick Siepman. We got a Vikings mailbag where I answer questions from Vikings fans by a Vikings fans. It's probably the best thing we do here on the channel is just chopping it up with you guys, and it's just a bunch of Vikings fans talking Vikings football. And we'll kick it to Matthew Weaver, who starts us off here and says, does Brian Flores, the newest defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings, does he bring back the 4-3 defense? So he actually mentioned this during his press conferences, introductory press conference, because obviously the Vikings ran the 4-3 defense with Mike Zimmer a lot. And then obviously the Ed Donatel defense was a 3-4. And we all kind of have nightmares about that 3-4 soft zone coverage defense. But pretty much Flores answered it in a way that I would have answered it. He said, we're going to take it game by game. If the team we're playing, if it's better than being a 4-3 defense, we'll do that. If it's better than being a 3-4 defense, we'll do that. So I thought it was pretty cool the way Brian Flores answered it. Pretty much he said, we're going to take it game by game, kind of play our matchups here, and whatever works better for us as our football team during that specific week. I love it because it's kind of like that the New England Patriots way of thinking. We're always focused on that one game. We can be like a chameleon. We can kind of change our ways to who we're playing. That's the type of mentality Brian Flores is bringing to Minnesota. Next question coming from Ballers TV, Draft AR 15. He's talking about Anthony Richardson, the Florida quarterback. And man, I would love to draft Anthony Richardson. It will just have to take the Vikings probably trading up for him, which I don't know if that is too likely. A lot of mock drafts had the Vikings actually taken recently Will Levis, trading up to 7. But if you could trade up to 7 and Anthony Richardson is still there, hell yeah, give me him. We actually had a super chat coming earlier that compared Anthony Richardson to Dante Culpepper, and I love that comparison. I've seen their kind of highlights next to each other on Twitter. They look very similar. Anthony Richardson, he's kind of that definition of boom or bust prospect here in this year's NFL draft. But I do think nowadays in the NFL, I think mobility will kind of give him, or his mobility, how like fast and just a great runner he is, will kind of give him that extra game or maybe extra season to kind of get that passing part of his game caught up to speed with the NFL level. Draft Anthony Richardson, draft AR-15, Ballers TV, I am all in. Just all comes down to what you have to kind of pay for to trade up to the top 10 to get a guy like that. But I'll be all in to get Anthony Richardson. Skull Bowl saying, do you think there's any chance the Vikings draft Hendon Hooker? I know we have to talk about this because Daniel Jeremiah in his recent mock draft had the Vikings taking Hendon Hooker at 23rd overall, and I honestly can't believe he did that. Listen, Hendon Hooker, this past season, look at his stats, man. They're great stats. 69.6 completion percentage, 3,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he's got that dual threat ability of 104 carries, 430 yards, and 5 touchdowns. But the thing is, the offense he was running at Tennessee last year, it's kind of a Mickey Mouse offense. It's kind of a lot of outside the numbers throws. He's not really going over the middle, which is a lot of what the modern day NFL is. You got to go over the middle just because you can't really hit receivers like you used to in the NFL. Hendon Hooker, I think, is an interesting prospect. I would be more into drafting Hendon Hooker in the 2nd or 3rd round. Obviously, the Vikings don't have a 2nd round pick, but if he's there in the 3rd round, I would not be against it. 1st round, hell no, I'm not drafting Hendon Hooker. But I ask you guys this. I'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. Would you draft Hendon Hooker? I'm going to make this actually more specific. 23rd overall, you're Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Would you draft Hendon Hooker at 23 overall? That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to make that the pinned comment. So if you guys get hit with a YouTube ad break right now, let it play. Just let it play through. Go down there and give me a D for draft or give me a P for pass if you'll draft Hendon Hooker at 23rd overall specifically. So this was a super chat that came in earlier saying, let's draft Anthony Richardson. Next, Dante Culpepper. Listen, I mean, he looks like Dante Culpepper. I mean, I think he's a little more, maybe a little more elusive than probably Dante Culpepper. But Dante was a way better thrower of the football than Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson honestly has a higher upside than Dante Culpepper did. But obviously, Culpepper, I mean, he was a great NFL quarterback. I mean, if Anthony Richardson turns out to be like him, could be exciting. But Matty Ice, shout out to you. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Deborah, I'm tweaking on that name right now. Do you personally want to trade for Lamar Jackson? I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Personally, I do. I really do want to trade for Lamar. I think if you have a chance to get that franchise superstar quarterback in the building, I just think there is a limit with what the Vikings can do with Kirk Cousins And I just don't know if Kirk, is he a confetti guy? Like, can you see the Vikings winning the Super Bowl and Kirk Cousins hoisting that Lombardi trophy? Like, can you really see it? Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm not sure, but I do know Lamar Jackson is that type of quarterback. Lamar, I think he's going to come out next year. I think he's going to be angry. I think he's going to be pissed off. I would personally want to do it. It will take you at least 2 first, and probably honestly sending Kirk, obviously, to Baltimore. I'd be all in for it, but great question. And now we're going to kick it to my man Joey, who says, I want Quentin Johnson. Then who do you want? So if we're talking receiver at 23 overall, I wouldn't mind it. I don't mind the Quentin Johnson pick. Honestly, Jackson Smith-Njigba is probably my number 1 receiver so far. I mean, his 40 time just came out today, and he ran faster than he originally was supposed to. I think he's the number 1 receiver in my opinion. But hey, Joey, if we got Quentin Johnson at 23rd overall, I would be absolutely ecstatic. I mean, that would be a great pick, a true wide receiver number 2. Keep him in purple. He was really that catalyst for that TCU team this past year. I would love that. Quentin Johnson, 23rd overall. Give me him. Scully Rowley, legend here on Vikings Now, saying, any chance the Vikings sign OBJ? So those rumors have been kind of getting thrown out there a lot more as of recently with the recent Cowboys trade of the Cowboys just traded for Brandon Cooks, and they were a favorite to land Odell. So now people are asking, who's the next team that could be signing Odell Beckham Jr.? And the Vikings were one of those teams thrown out there. They did attend his workout in Arizona. There's 12 teams that attended it. The Vikings were one of those 12. Do I think it's likely they get Odell? No. But would I want Odell? Hell yes, I would. I still think Odell has a lot left in the tank. I think he's a big-time player, a big-game player. I think Odell, he's not going to be able to give you like an 18-game production type of season anymore. But, hey, if you're talking just you need him for a playoff game, you need him in that big-time game late in January. Maybe we're playing in Lambeau. Maybe we're beating Maria Contero's Packers maybe we're down by 7 in Lambeau. We need a game-winning drive, and Odell is the receiver next to Justin Jefferson. I don't know. It wouldn't be a bad idea to bring in OBJ, but I'll throw this to you guys. Would you sign OBJ? Give me an OBJ for yes, or give me an no BJ for no. Let me know what you guys have to say. If you guys want OBJ, just type OBJ in the chat below. If you guys don't want OBJ, give me a no BJ in the comment section. Next question coming in here from Spiking Viking 1977, saying, will the Vikings defense be in the top 10? So I think it is. I think this Vikings defense, I know this may be a shocker to a lot of you guys. I think this defense is going to be really good next year. I think so if we're talking second-year players that I'm expecting to have big seasons for the Minnesota Vikings. Lewis Cine, Andrew Booth Jr., Caleb Evans, Brian Asamoah. Those 4 guys, if they have big-time years for Brian Flores, this defense could be flying around. I love the addition of Marcus Davenport. I love the addition of Byron Murphy. You still got Harrison Smith, one of the most versatile safeties in the NFL. I think this Vikings team, if they were going to take that next step and be that top 10 defense and not be the bottom defense in the NFL like they were last year, Brian Asamoah, Andrew Booth, Lewis Cine, Caleb Evans, all draft picks from last year who are very versatile, very fast players. I think those would be the guys that I kind of am circling and saying, if they have a good year, yes, I 100% think the Vikings defense could be in the top 10. We're just going to have to wait and see. Great question, Spike and Viking. Tossing it back to Matthew Weaver here. Do the Vikings trade Zadarius Smith or Danielle Hunter? Man, I'm still waiting to look at my phone and see the Zadarius Smith cut or traded notification, but we just haven't gotten it yet. I honestly think Kwesi has sat down with Zadarius and said, we're not trading you. You are a Viking. We are paying you this next season. You're going to be on this team, and you're going to be effective. I know Zadarius was not the most productive at the end of last season, but man, I just think maybe he was hurt. Maybe that's what Kwesi sees too. Maybe this is Brian Flores saying, I want to keep Zadarius Smith. I'm keeping Danielle Hunter for sure. I still think Danielle Hunter has that extra level he could go to where he could be a true top 7 edge in the NFL. Obviously, I know he had those 2 season-ending injuries as of late. But Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, I think they're both going to be on the roster. I really, really do. I mean, that may be a bit of a different take from a Viking fan, but I think Za'Darius and Daniil, I think we're going to both see them in purple next season. Blazing Woods, 420, saying, I hope you use Harrison Smith right. Totally agree. I hated the way that Ed Donatel used Harrison Smith last season. I just couldn't stand it. I get Harrison Smith. A lot of people maybe thought he lost a step, but I just think Harrison Smith, the best part of his game is his versatility, and Ed Donatel didn't show that at all. Like, I loved when Mike Zimmer used to have Harry in the box when he was kind of that third or fourth linebacker, depending on the package you were in. I think Harrison Smith, I think is going to be great for Ed Donatel or Brian Flores in that new defense. Again, Brian Flores, you think of versatility. That's what Harrison Smith is. I think he's going to have a big-time year. And again, shout out to Harrison Smith. He took a pay cut to stay with the Vikes. I mean, I love this dude. Yeah, I grew up watching Harrison Smith. He was kind of one of the first Vikings players I really fell in love with. Him and Adrian Peterson is why I got my love personally for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know. I hope he does. I hope he does too. Great point, Blazing Woods. To the Moon, saying, who is your dream draft pick for the Vikings? I like this. A little fun question here. I'll pull up, actually, good timing. I'll pull up this guy, Devin Witherspoon, cornerback from Illinois. This would be my dream draft target. Honestly, I don't think he's going to – actually, I know he's not going to be there at 23. He's probably a top 15 pick. He's aggressive. He hits hard. He's a great corner. Had an unreal season at Illinois. I just think he'll probably be gone. But, hey, even if you would trade up for a guy like this, I think this is a no-doubter, all-pro type of corner. You pair him up with Byron Murphy and the boys, I think he could really be that one piece in the draft that, man, you talk about maybe the Vikings having a top 10 defense. I think this is a draft pick that could almost ensure the Vikes to have a top 10 defense next year. Devin Witherspoon, that's my dream draft target. But we're talking draft right now. What position do you want the Minnesota Vikings to draft in this upcoming year? We'll kind of end the show on this question. Let me know down below, what position do you guys want the Vikings to draft? Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a mailbag from our live show during the week. If you guys are watching live right now, also get in the live chat and let me know what position you want the Vikings to draft. But anyways, we'll see you guys next time. And as always, Skol Vikes. All right, guys, let me know. What position do you want the Minnesota Vikings to draft? Great show. Do you think Brandon Pohl will get lots of snaps as a wide receiver this year? No, I think this was probably our punt returner pick. I don't think Rager will be back next year. I know they're probably not going to bring his fifth-year option. All right, a lot of people are getting annoyed with Maria. We're going to ban her. You guys want us to do that? We're going to ban her. We're going to ban her. All right, she's blocked. We got the Packers fan out of here. It's only Vikings fans now. But that was today's live show. Pretty much the rules here are at Chat Sports. We can stay live if Super Chats keep coming in. But if they don't, that's cool. We already got $21. Yeah, she's blocked. Don't worry. Deborah's nice. She's happy about that, saying yes in the chat. Shout out to you guys. Yes, here we go. All the yeses coming in the chat. She's blocked. Don't worry. We got the Packers fan out of here. Don't you guys worry. User 6272 saying, I love this. Yeah, we try to do these almost every other week on Wednesdays at about 3 o'clock. So if you guys remember that, tune in. Inhale, exhale. Vikings record prediction for next year, 17-0. 17-0. This team's going undefeated. No, I'm kidding. But I do think the Vikings, I think they're getting slept on. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, they were 11-0 in one-score games. They're going to have that natural regression, all this garbage. Listen, playoff game, no Brian O'Neill. Huge. This Vikings defense, we got rid of the moron calling plays in Ed Donatel. Brought in Brian Flores, an elite head coach in the NFL. Bring in Byron Murphy. Bring in Marcus Davenport. Draft a guy. I think what the moves the Vikings have made, they have had a sneaky, really good offseason. I'll go. We do have a very tough schedule. I'm going to go 11-6, back-to-back NFC North titles, and I'm going to say we lose in the NFC Championship. There it is. That's my prediction. Way too early Vikings record prediction. I'm going to go 11-6, losing in the NFC title game to See, I don't even like saying we're going to lose in that, because if we get to the NFC title game, I'm definitely not picking against the Vikes. So, yeah, I'll go 11-6. I'll wait for my playoff prediction. But, again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If no more Super Chats come in, I am going to have to log off here on the channel. Again, all these videos that we did will be reposted up on our channel. So if you guys are here right now, you guys can check them out to rewatch the videos. If your question was in the mailbag, you can go see yourself on a YouTube video. So pretty cool part of that. Dennis is saying 10-7. User 6272 saying that's a decent, realistic prediction. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A. He said the same record as me. I did. Shout out to A. A, you know ball. Shout out to you. Yeah, Dennis saying 10. Listen, I think this Vikings team is going to be good. They just do have a really tough schedule. And I think it's also going to see, like, what if we do trade for Lamar? Like what if that happens? Like, that could very well happen. So we'll see. I don't know. I am very curious to see what the Vikings end up doing next year. All I know is it's going to be a hell of a year. It's going to be another great year to be a Minnesota Vikings fan. I can't wait for it. So shout out to you guys, everybody who's kind of tuned in on today's live show. I'm going to log off right now. Shout out to all of you guys. I really do appreciate it. Let's give us some shout outs. User 6272, shout out to you. Deborah, hopefully I'm saying your name right. Matthew Weaver, I love DT94. Oh, I'm sorry about your name, dude. I love Dalvin Tomlinson too. Dennis, he was in the chat. Inhale XL. Benton, shout out to you. You guys are all giving Maria hell. I love it. OBJ is coming in. Alexis was in the chat often today. I love seeing you guys comment. Leonard, he was in the chat. Spike and Viking, Tony, all of you guys, shout out to you. We're going to sign off here on Vikings Now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you guys next week.